You just got a great quote from Jackson Cantwell. He said, quote, "I have all the information I need. Don't know how an OV would change that really." So he's basically saying, I don't need to go on any more visits. It's go time. How do you read this?
Well, I think that Jackson Cantwell is ready to make his college decision. He's been able to visit his top schools numerous times. He's had a lot of dialogue with each of these coaching staffs. And he's in the midst of trying to finish his junior track season strong as he goes after national records and tries to perform at a high level. I talked to Jackson today. I talked to his dad today. They're like, by the end of the week, we are tired. And to go on these recruiting visits when when there's nothing more he can learn about these programs, it's time for him to make his college decision. He's closing in on his choice. He has 6 finalists. You have Georgia, you have Oregon, you have Miami, you got Michigan, you got Ohio State, and of course you have in-state Missouri. A lot of the buzz, and we've been talking about it on the Wilt Von Whip Around, has been around Georgia. Much of his process. Oregon certainly has been in that top 2. And the program that we've had rocketing up is Miami, a fall visit, then an amazing visit to the Hurricanes campus this spring where he got a chance to be around the program for a few days. Talk to Mario Cristobal and that coaching staff about how they get first-year starters ready to hop in to the lineup and play at a high level, how Mario Cristobal has done that historically at Alabama, Oregon, and now Miami, being able to point to guys like Penei Sewell, Jonah Williams, and now Francis Mauigoa, Jackson Cantwell. You can be next. The Hurricanes are on a major rise in that recruitment. Georgia and Oregon have been mainstays at the top. If you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, where do you think Jackson Cantwell is going to go? I would have said, I think it's going to be Georgia. But right now, I think that this one could be going towards someone else, and we will see where the chips fall here. I think he does decide before he takes his official visits as he tries to lock in on his college decision while finishing his junior track season very strong.
So we could be, because official visit generally start at the beginning of June. So you think we get a decision from the number 1 overall recruit before June?
I do indeed. I think that is the plan now. And I think his representation over there at Rosenhaus is having their final conversations with these coaching staffs to figure out what this looks like from an NIL standpoint. And with Jackson Cantwell, you may be offering a lot, but another program might be offering more than you. And when you add that up over 3-4 years, that becomes 4 times more than what you're offering, and sometimes maybe even a little bit more. So he's got a lot to balance between on-field track record, player development at the position, style of play, and then certainly NIL. And I think you got Georgia, Oregon, and Miami leading the way. Our colleague Pete Nako's reported as much this week, so we're hearing it from all angles. And we'll see who is the one program at the end. But these teams have reeled in Georgia. Georgia was the leader for a lot of the process. They have major competition here at the end.
February to March, we heard a lot about Michigan making a move, but yesterday we had EJ Holland on the channel from the Wolverine, and EJ said that, Michigan's not, in some cases, presenting an NIL number to some top recruits, and he mentioned Jackson Cantwell as one of them. Do you think this is a situation where, because you didn't mention Michigan as one of the top 3 in your opinion, do you think this is an NIL issue with Michigan, or they just never really got the traction going with Cantwell in the first place?
Well, it's hard to say exactly because I do think Michigan was in that 3 hole at one point, Josh, behind Georgia and Oregon. And they certainly check a lot of boxes for him for what he's looking for in a school. But again, to the point I made at the top of the show, these NIL conversations he's having, you may have put a hefty offer on the table, but there might be someone way bigger. So let's just say you're in the game at 1.2, but someone else is in the game at 2.4. And you add that up over 3 years with some raises. That's a difference of $3-4 extra $1 million out there. So even though you may like one school a little bit better, their O-line coach a little bit better, or their culture, their campus, or whatever, you might be $4 million behind in the long run, and that's something that could tilt it one way or the other. So there's a lot of moving parts in this recruitment, a lot of things that he still has to talk to his family about down the stretch of his recruitment. But He has all the information. Now it's about sorting it out, getting the cards where he wants them, and making the decision that's best for him, the combination of it all. I don't think this is a true NIL decision for Jackson Cantwell, but it's a factor, and it'd be a factor for anybody going through the process with the type of means he's able to earn in college, which would set him up for life beyond what a professional career would be in football or track or medical sales or wherever this thing takes you. I think he's going to have a chance to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft and play a long time in the league. He certainly, the way he's setting records in track and field, has a chance to go compete for a gold medal and be a Nike athlete at the same time if he chose to do that. But then certainly you got the NIL conversations and some major money, and maybe you're a little behind for 1 year, but you're way behind when you start adding up 2 and 3 and adding up all that money collectively. So, but he has the information. Now it's time to decide. No need to get out on the road and travel. He's saying as much. Yeah. So these are fine. Anytime you talk to Jackson Cantwell from now until he makes his decision, it might be your last conversation with him before him and his family really sit down and decide which program is the one for him.
All right. Well, right now there's no expert predictions logged yet for Jackson Cantwell. I'm sure that now that, it sounds like we're going to come down to a decision, you're going to get working on that. But just generally speaking, how do you navigate putting in a prediction on a recruit that's this big, this kind of the number 1 recruit in the country? When is it time for you to put that prediction in?
Well, there was a time where I almost logged one in for Georgia and talked to Jackson about it. And he didn't say Georgia was his leader, but he didn't say, hey, don't put one in either, So I just didn't do it because there was still a lot of, for a recruit of that magnitude. And I don't know, Josh, I mean, it just changes, when do I put in a pick? When do I not put in a pick? Just whenever I feel comfortable is when I put in a pick. And for Jackson Cantwell, and when I put in a pick, generally it's what I think the current pulse is in a recruitment. So it would have been fair to put one in for Georgia, but a lot of runway in that recruitment. He had a lot of visits to go. He had a lot of great relationships with programs and could see himself at a lot of schools. So even though I've always felt good about Georgia's position and the intel has favored the Bulldogs, they've had major competition. And as we get close to the finish line, that competition is very much closed the gap. And I don't even know if Georgia's in the lead right now, where a couple of weeks ago I still would have said I thought they were in the lead.
All right. Well, let me ask the real recruiting experts. You guys get in the comment section and tell us where Jackson Cantwell is going to land. Let us know.
Wilt Fong Whip Around listeners, let's talk about Game Time, your go-to place to get last-minute tickets for your favorite sporting events. Is your favorite NBA team on the verge of clinching home court advantage like mine is? Then you want to be on Game Time buying your last-minute tickets like I did for Friday night's home game for my team as we try and solidify our great positioning in the Eastern Conference. Here's the scenario. It's also baseball season, and the team you've been rooting for your whole life is ready for a big season like mine again. And you want to go to the game with your friends and family only to find out that they're completely sold out. My team's pretty popular up there in the friendly confines. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down as it gets closer to first pitch, as it gets closer to tip or kick. With the killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets, NBA tickets, and more. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of the Wilt Fong Whip Around. Summer is approaching, and there's nothing better than catching an afternoon baseball game or an NBA playoff game. Game Time has the best last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Get your culture in, take your girl out to the show. Game Time picks make last-minute ticket buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. So here's what we're going to do. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code ON3, ON the number 3, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.